Welcome to the channel, friends. So today's video is going to be covering the Google Nest Thermostat 3rd Gen, and we're going to cover the settings menu and go over each function and kind of a quick overview of all the different settings that are available on this thermostat unit. I also have other videos covering other very popular topics such as factory reset, scheduling and programming of the learning feature on this, as well as manual override, which is also a big favorite, as well as how to use the Google Nest app, as well as lock and unlock, and also how to use eco mode properly. Those are all separate videos, so please check out my follow-up videos in my thermostat playlist. Alright, so you're looking at the main display here. The operation is very simple. You use the dial to make adjustments, and then you can click to make the entry of the adjustment. To select it, essentially. Now, this is the main kind of screen for the menu, and you have different options here. We'll go over really quick what all these do. So this is your mode for heating and cooling. You can turn it on for heat only cool, or heat and cool if you want automatic changeover. As you can see, we have 2 set points now. You can toggle between the two and then adjust either accordingly. Okay, and then double click to go back into this menu screen. So, as we move clockwise around this, then we go into eco mode. This is where you would activate eco mode. I have a separate video on that. Please check that out. There's just too much to go in this thermostat to go over completely. I have to break it down into different chapters, different videos to cover everything kind of thoroughly. So here we have fan. That's very self-explanatory. We can turn the fan on. Sorry, let me go back to that. And you can turn the fan on for a certain amount of time. So if you want 30 minutes, 2 hours, 15 minutes, whatever. And this will just turn the fan on by itself and operate the circulation of the fan in the HVAC system. So that's a really neat feature. Moving along, we have now the schedule. That's self-explanatory. That has to do with... All right, so next so moving along now, we have the schedule, and that's self-explanatory. That gives you your timeline of the scheduled set points throughout the week and each day. And to get out of this, you want to go all the way to the end. Next, moving along, would be the history. Now, this will tell you how long the unit has been in operation. So if your heating unit was on for 2 hours, it would tell you it's on for 2 hours, or your cooling system was on for 2 hours. It'll all display that in kind of a timeline format, just like the schedule. But since this has been reset, there is no information on this thermostat right now. Moving along to the next one, we have the settings button and then the back button, which takes you to the main screen, as you can see. So now we're going to focus on the settings icon here, the little gear icon, which gives you a whole bunch of different settings and parameters that you essentially get when you first activate this thermostat and plug it in. It's going to ask you for all your language, your location, your heating type, your cooling type, all sorts of details when it comes to the equipment on your system, okay? And it's very important to set these up and to look through these every once in a while to make sure your thermostat is configured accordingly and correctly. So let's go into here and start looking at these and what they are. So the first one here is Home Away Assist, and that has to do with, there's a sensor on here that automatically senses you walking by or the activity in your home, and it will set your set points either using the eco mode or your normal settings, your normal thermostat schedule. So if you want to stop using Home Away or eco mode, you would hit stop using, okay? But that essentially uses that proximity sensor to activate either eco mode or your normal settings. So if it senses you not walking around for 24 hours, it's probably going to go into eco mode, okay? And then it ties into this next one here, which is eco mode settings, like the thresholds. So you can adjust these or turn them completely off. Which is something you want to do if you're doing a manual override. Check out my manual override video for that. But essentially, you're setting the min and max points for heating and cooling to be essentially an energy saving threshold. So when it goes into eco mode, essentially, it will hold these thresholds in order to save energy and be more efficient. Now, that's only when you're not home and you're not, wanting the house to be comfortable or whatever, because these will essentially default to a lower temperature or a higher temperature, depending on the type of, the what you're using, heating or cooling in the time of year. You might be uncomfortable with these settings because it's only to save energy. So it's a default mode when you're not home, essentially. You wouldn't really use these when you're home unless you really wanted to. But you would adjust these accordingly, and you would essentially put them to a leaf setting to be an energy efficient mode. All right, next one is going to be the safety temperature. This right here is the absolute minimum. As you can see here, we can set this down to 35 degrees or higher. So your heating system will never go, the thermostat or the room temperature will never go below 41 degrees. Or for cooling, if you have pets or something, you can set that to, 85 or 95 here. Yeah, so the lowest you can go is 95. So if the house got to 95, it would automatically kick on the cooling system no matter what, okay? Even if this thing was in eco mode or whatever, okay? It's a safety override built in to make sure your pipes don't freeze or stuff like furniture doesn't swell because of heat and humidity, okay? Next is going to be your fan schedule. Right now I have it disabled, but you can set it to run the fan always from a certain period of time during the day. You can adjust those times, okay? Or you can have it run per hour, like 30 minutes per hour every hour, or 15 minutes per hour every hour. It's up to you. Or you can have it set to always and just do like a 1 hour time period every day or something, okay? So that's simple enough to set up. That's a very, very nice feature to have this fan schedule in this thermostat. A lot of other thermostats don't have that. They allow you to turn the fan off and on, but not on a schedule, which is nice on this thermostat. Next is going to be your Nest Sense. This is where a lot of the smart features are and your learning features. So the first one is auto schedule. This is one of those learning features. It will learn according to how you adjust the thermostat, and then it will essentially mimic that to get an actual adjusted, projected set point for each and every day. All right, so you can mess around with that. It may work. Some people think that it's a little too much, and they have a hard time dialing in the temperature because the thing will automatically adjust the temperature depending on how you adjust it. But over time, this auto learning or auto scheduling thing will fine tune and follow your lead when it comes to making manual adjustments on the thermostat. So yes, at first it's going to seem like it's fighting you, but it does take some time, I think. I would say give it a month or two before it dials in and fine tunes what you want. Next is time to temperature. This is just telling you that when you override the temperature, it's going to say, okay, it's going to take 30 minutes or an hour to reach that desired set point. That's about it. Early on is pretty much if you want to preheat or pre-cool your house, depending on the times you set. So if you set it for 3 o'clock to come on to 80 degrees or whatever, it may come on at like 2 o'clock and start up to get to 80 degrees by 3 o'clock, if you get what I'm saying. Or you can just have it start early, option, or on schedule. So it's gonna follow your regimented set point times that you manually put into your programming on the thermostat. It's not gonna start before that point at all. So it's just gonna follow your instructions, your time frames, and that's it. Okay. But if you wanted to preheat or pre-cool, you would want to select the first option. And depending on how long it takes to do that, I don't know. It could take an hour, it could be 2 hours, depending on your heating system or cooling system. So I'm just going to put start on schedule. True radiant. This is just to optimize your radiant heating system. It just runs the circulator pump versus running the actual heating unit itself. Cool to dry, same kind of principle. This will allow the cooling system to run longer to keep the humidity down. Okay, and this ties into the air wave as well, which I'll talk about. Sunblock is just, if this thermostat is set up in an area like an atrium that has a lot of sun and a lot of windows, this will basically offset the temperature on the thermostat to make up for all that extra heat load or sun load on the thermostat, which will affect it. Okay, I'm going to select no to that. The leaf is just telling you that the leaf means that it's an energy efficient mode. There's really nothing to select there. Airwave is it's an energy efficient function of the cooling system. So essentially it runs the fan longer, turns off the compressor or runs it less, and allows the fan to run longer over the cooled coils, or the your evaporator core in the cooling system. Just runs the fan essentially and blows extra cold air over the coils, instead of running the actual compressor, because the compressor is what's going to take up more energy and more load, electrical load. Essentially runs the compressor less and runs the fan more to help cool and cool the air in the house and circulate cooler air versus actively being on. Okay, that's just an option for cooling air wave. I'm just going to select off. Okay. Next is going to be reminders. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's to remind you of changing out your air filters. If you select, remind me, then you're going to go through a list here of when to reset it and when it's going to remind you of the air filter change. So mess with that if you want to have some kind of air filter reminder. Display, this is easy enough. Use Farsight, that's that proximity sensor. When it senses you walking up to it, what do you want it to do? Do you want it to show you the target temperature, the current temperature, the analog clock, digital clock, or weather? Okay, if you had it hooked up to Wi-Fi. Or don't use Farsight and wake on press. Wake on approach will be using that proximity sensor, and it's going to display and illuminate the display and show you the whatever you select from this list here. So I'm going to select current temperature and wake on press. Okay, and done. Next is going to be brightness. It's very self-explanatory. Be low, medium, high, and auto. We're just going to leave it on auto. Click sound is the click sound of the actual thermostat. Like when you rotate this thing, it makes a clicky noise like when you text on your phone. I'm gonna set that to on. And next we have Fahrenheit or Celsius, very self-explanatory. We can click between those. Next will be your date and time. So if you want to set your date and time, you would do it right there. That's simple enough. This is all stuff they ask you when you first plug it in, when you first power up the device. When you go to actually install it, you're going to have to input a lot of these different things here. And next will be language. That's easy enough. We want English. You would go through there and select something else if you wanted a different language. Okay. All right, so next is the Nest app. Well, we don't have that hooked up right now, but I will show you in a separate video. Location. This is where you would adjust your location. Click on location, and you would adjust depending on your service here. When you connect with the Nest app, it's going to want to know that, so it can display temperature of your, like the outside and things like that. So that's really not that important to have. Network connection. So same thing. This is where you would start and apply your network to get on the Wi-Fi. And as you can see, it picked up my Wi-Fi. I'm not going to set this up right now. I will do this later. Okay, I will show you in a separate video how to set this up on a network and use your Nest app. Next is the lock screen. We're going to cover this in a separate video. That also requires you to use the Nest app to activate this function. Equipment. This is showing me what's plugged into the base plate of this, the wall plate, and it will go through the different equipment you have hooked up, the type of equipment, like if it's gas, oil, heat, electric, baseboard, radiant heat. So it's going to ask these things when you first power up the device as well. Same thing. Nest Pro, we're not going to worry about this right now. That also has to do with the Nest app software version. It's good to know whether you're up to date on your software version. Technical info. This goes over all the stuff that's connected. Okay. Kind of the same stuff we just went over. Network, sensors. If you had a different room sensor, you would have that connection made here. Legal info. It's really not that important. It just gives you a bunch of stuff here to look up. And here is a reset. So I'll go over this in a separate video, so check that out. If you want to know how to reset your device, that's where you would do it, but there's a lot to that. There's different options. And here is at the very end, we have our return window here, a return screen. So we click on this and we can return back to the main display, displaying our ambient and our set point. So here we have 67. That's our ambient temperature of the room. And here are 70 and 80 are our set points for cooling and heating. Okay. So that there is the settings menu. We went over all the basic stuff here. This is where you're going to want to set up when you first install this device, or if you got it used from somewhere else or off of eBay or from a friend or family. You're going to want to come through these menus and these settings here and change them to configure the thermostat to your own house and heating type and cooling type or whatever. So really important stuff to do. That's going to be it for the video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Please check out my other videos covering other aspects of this thermostat. I go in detail when it comes to manual override and factory reset, which are big ones. A lot of people like to see those videos. But I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.